We are here with Doug Charles, owner of Compass Wines in Anacortes. Doug, we just got done tasting a whole lot of wine, but what I want to talk about is this 1183, this new law that was passed this week by Washington State voters. As a small business owner and a wine shop owner, this is going to have some effect on your business, and you've thought about this a lot. So tell me some of your perspectives on this new law.
Well, our perspective is generally positive in the change. We were kind of on the fence either way in terms of how it went, but now that it's passed, there are a couple benefits that we're definitely going to see. Part of it is that now as the law goes into effect, we'll be able to retail to other retailers, and we'll be able to retail to restaurants. And as remote as we are, we've actually already been contacted by other operators and by wineries to use us as kind of a small distribution hub, so to speak, so that the smaller guys that are on the other side of the state don't have to travel all the way across to our neck of the woods to service a restaurant, for instance. And so that aspect is going to be really, really important, I think, to our business and to helping small wineries from the other side of the state get distribution into areas in our part of the state that they currently don't service, just because it's not worth their time to drive over. And from a liquor standpoint, the fact that the two large grocery stores in our town are going to be carrying hard liquor, I think, is also going to benefit us, because in all reality, they're probably going to take away part of their wine department to do so, which is going to move some of their wine traffic to us. And so I think it's going to be a good thing for us, and I think in the long term, it's going to be a good thing for the state.
We were talking at length yesterday about the whole small winery distribution part of this, and I hadn't really thought about that. And a lot of the wineries that we talked to were actually kind of disturbed that they may lose out on some distribution because basically the three-tier system kind of goes away. But you're looking at it from the other perspective.
Yeah, I think there's actually more potential for the smaller wineries, because realistically in the big distribution books, they're lost now, and oftentimes the pricing is not necessarily competitive with other things in the book, and in terms of the promotions that, for instance, a California winery will give to salespeople for selling X number of bottles, trips, etc., that small Washington wineries haven't been able to compete on that level. And so now, the way this law is written, and I don't think that was necessarily the intent, is what's going to happen is that there's going to be multiple distribution bases for those wineries should they choose to use them, and should the retailer on the other end decide to use them. And so whether it to be a big retailer like a Costco or a small person like us, we'll be able to purchase inventory, keep it in stock, and then get it to smaller restaurants and other retailers if that is something that the wineries want to do. That option is now open, which wasn't before.
Right. We also talked a bit about, you saw some of the, I guess, unfairness of competing against liquor stores in the past, and that's kind of gone away now.
Right. We always had a big issue with the fact that the state was able to purchase wines at a different price level than we were, and so they violated their own fixed price laws to compete directly with us in our own town. And so now that they're going to be out of the wine selling business as well as the liquor business, it's going to actually bring us into more of an even playing field than it was before. Even though it was claimed to be even before, it was even except for the state.
Right. So for a winery that maybe sold 50% or more of its stock through state liquor stores, what's the hope for some of them?
I think that it's still, there's going to be potential. I think there's going to be a change in the mix in terms of who sells what where. But as the big retailers, the Costcos, the Walmarts, those people in the world start negotiating for really, really aggressive terms on the wines that they purchase, it's going to force other brands out of those stores as they build floor space and into other stores. And so I think there's going to be a big shakeup in terms of who carries what. But I think looking at other states like California as a model, there's still plenty of wine sold in California by little guys, big guys, when they've had that fully competitive marketplace. And I think the same thing will eventually work in Washington.
Let's talk about your business. You've had Compass for quite a while, but I've actually known you since I think I met you when I was in college.
Yeah, many years in the restaurant business, 20 years in the restaurant business before we opened Compass in 2001. And so we just celebrated 10 years of being in business as a retailer. So many years peddling Washington wine.
And you have an interesting take on it. You buy cellars. I mean, if someone wants to find an old, interesting, unique wine, they might come to you first.
Right. We do a lot of what they call accommodation sales, and actually lately the state has been referring cellars to us, which is kind of a neat deal, and that somebody that inherits a cellar or no longer wants all of their wine can actually contact us We do what's known as an accommodation sale. The wine is technically purchased by the state, and then we buy it from the state in terms of the way the paperwork works. But we get a lot of really fascinating estate wines, older bottlings, unusual, rare things that way.
Okay, and you do a lot of you open a lot of interesting wines for some of your customers. What?
Yeah.
We were talking recently about you opened some really old Saint Michel's.
Yeah, we like to open things on a regular basis. We've got a tasting bar, and our tastings are always free, and we just open things for whoever walks in the door. And I think it's an important thing for customers to do, and I think it's equally important, if not more important, for my staff to get to taste these things. I've been doing this for a lot of years, but my staff's a lot younger, and to give them the opportunity to taste a mid-70s San Michel wine or an early 80s Leonetti or Woodward Canyon or Quilceda Creek, or see how these things mature and compare them against other wines. And when we buy a big estate, as part of what we do, we taste through a lot of the wines to make sure they're sound before we put them up for sale. And so we'll open a bunch of really rare, unusual old things just to see how they're doing, and then anybody that walks in the door is welcome to try them at the same time. So it's a really fun aspect of the business.
And how was that 75 Saint Michel cab you opened?
Stunning. We poured it alongside a 75 Bordeaux, and the Bordeaux didn't hold a candle to it. So
really,
yeah, it was a lesser Bordeaux, but it's still, the San Michel was from a questionable provenance, and it showed absolutely beautifully.
And kind of showed the opportunity here in Washington for ageable reds.
I think so, yeah. I think the ageability of Washington reds is really underestimated. We hear a lot of negative comments about certain wineries that, they don't age, and we buy just about every bottle we can find, and we've found just the opposite. They age beautifully.
All right. Doug, thanks for your time.
You're very welcome.